So Sheldon, Europe has become very popular nowadays,
Yeah,
especially that there are a lot of changes in the Caribbean programs or the second
correct.
passport programs. And we've seen a very good interest on specific European programs. I mean, that would be Italian Golden Visa, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Jim. So obviously the changes have happened quite sporadically over the last 2 years. The
Right.
Caribbean's changed, Portugal's changed, Greece has changed, Spain's essentially abolished, Malta's just changed. I
Yes,
think two
correct.
weeks ago they've made some adjustments. So one of the programs that hasn't necessarily changed but has come to the forefront has been Italy. Now, Italy, through its golden visa, which I would say, I don't know if you think so, but probably a lesser known golden
Right,
visa
I would
route
agree. Yeah.
for whatever reason. We took about 6 months to look at the program, and
Yes, we
there's
did.
various routes. One, I think, is the 500,000 into a
Mm.
specific investment fund. There's €1 million business-based route where you have to employ a certain amount of Italian nationals, and then there's the one that we think is the most, number one, easy to facilitate, and number two, the least
Yeah.
capital restrictive, which is through the Italian startup
Startup.
investment. Now, the confusion around that might be that the startup, people think, I actually had a client discussion yesterday where the client thought they actually had to facilitate the startup. So actually go and engage in a tech or an R&D startup, which is not
Which
the
could
case.
be a little bit tricky.
Exactly. So the nice thing is that we take some of that legwork out.
Correct.
The startup needs to meet certain criteria in terms of its operating tenure. So it needs to be operational for less than 5 years, which still categorizes it as a startup.
Yeah.
Anything more than 5 years is not necessarily a startup, as you know. It needs to work in certain sectors. And it needs to be government approved. So
Very important.
Yes, which also safeguards capital and makes sure that the client has an easy exit strategy. So that's the basis of it. In terms of the amount of funding that needs to go into these startups, which when held up against other European golden visa programs is €250,000. So
Beautiful.
still a fair sum of money, but in terms of investment, you're only looking at holding that capital for 2 years, which makes the program quite unique.
Yeah, you have an exit.
Yeah,
Like there's
so
an
you
exit
get
route.
essentially what the government term a repurchase agreement
Yeah.
from the startup specifically, which allows you to exit after 2 years without relinquishing your ability to extend your residence.
Yeah.
So what that means is that now that repurchase agreement is actually in the legislation. So there's a piece of legislation which outlines the repurchase agreement. So that capital really is safeguarded. So yeah, it makes it quite
And
unique.
obviously it's the process is very straightforward. It's a quick
Yeah.
there's a quick turnaround time of every process.
Yeah.
And with the validity of the residency,
Yeah.
it's 2 years, and then it can be renewed for another 3 years,
Extended
right?
for 3. So you might know this better than I do. We've obviously onboarded a fair amount of clients
Yes,
now,
we
and,
did.
and the program is happening quite swiftly in terms of processing times. What do you think it looks like in terms of documentation? Because some of the preparation around golden visas or even UK business categories for that reason can be quite arduous in terms of documentation. For what I'm seeing and what your team has seen, less so with the Italy option.
Of course, not compared to other golden visa process, it's
Yeah.
lesser. Some of the documents are really the client already have them.
Yeah.
So basic identity documents. The most important thing is the bank declaration letter
Yes.
to confirm that there are available funds in the bank account, confirming
Yeah.
that he's able to be eligible for the
Okay,
amount.
and that's the FTA backed
Yes.
letter, which
Yeah.
essentially is showing, so that's a compliance
Yeah.
issue, showing the 250 or the equivalent of €250,000 available in whatever currency that may be, but it just needs to meet the equivalent of €250,000. I was going to say something else. That also reminds me, the unique thing about the program is, number one, the ability to exit after 2 years, which we've spoken about, but
Yeah.
also when you need to actually make the investment.
Absolutely.
So do you want to speak
yeah.
to that a bit?
Well, the good thing is the client receives an investor visa prior
Yeah.
to the actual residency golden visa
Which is
card.
also unique because normally
Absolutely.
you'd need a Schengen to enter
Correct.
first.
Yeah.
Here you're actually applying for, I guess what they term an investor visa, as
Yes.
you said,
Yes.
which is actually valid for 2 years already, right?
Correct,
You
yes.
do it from your local consulate or VFS or wherever the facilitation is in your country of residence or nationality,
Right.
and you get that 2-year visa up front. Sorry.
Yes, so
Yeah.
basically, once the visa is there, and then you just have to travel for the biometric, only then you're required to make the investment, which
Okay.
is a pretty much very interesting
So let me
part
just
of the process.
map it out. So 2-year investor visa, you enter, from what I understand, you then, once you've got granted that entry clearance and you actually enter Milan, we would have pre-booked your biometrics at that
Absolutely,
stage.
yeah.
Within 8 days of arrival in Italy, you have to engage that biometrics. Only upon approval, so you get a visa and you get a residence permit. So
Right.
the visa is for entry clearance. The residence is a residence permit. Once
Yeah.
your residence permit is granted, you then have 90 days to actually make the investment.
Right,
So you're essentially getting a 2-year residence permit without laying out any capital up front.
Yeah.
And then you still have 3 months to actually make the investment, right?
correct. And KB helps you with everything that you need to do from documentation,
Yeah,
from getting your biometric booked,
yeah.
from all the things that you have to do from wherever you are
Mm-hmm.
applying and when you reach Italy.
Yeah, which is quite unique because just going back, just holding it up against the other ones.
Yeah.
Portugal, you need to make your investment first.
Correct.
So you're $500,000 into a fund is the most popular option right now.
Yes.
That's before you even get your residence permit. Greece.
Plus, you need to get a Schengen visa.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, unless you have another passport that would allow you
and,
to
yeah,
enter.
so exactly. And most of the time it's some IMA restrictions are that you need to enter on a type D, especially with the HSV, the highly
Yeah.
skilled route. But anyway, we could go on about that.
Yeah.
The point is that investor visa is unique. And again, I think the investor visa or the Italian golden visa actually operates on its own separate government portal,
Correct.
which means that government backing is there as well. They've created their own portal to allow for processing to be expeditious.
Efficient as well at the same time, yeah.
Because you see Portugal taking, 18 months, let's say.
Yeah, we can talk about it all day. I mean, about
Yeah.
the process, the delays with
We've had
getting
a
the
client that just
biometric
received their residence permits yesterday for
after,
Portugal.
unfortunately, after 2 years.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
they have brought those timelines down, but
Right.
that's the reality of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And then Greece, you're needing to essentially acquire real estate first.
Correct.
So you're laying out your capital before you know you have your residence. Malta's made some adjustment, but that's a largely donation-based application. So Italy really is favorable. Sorry.
I just wanted to, I think one of the most important thing is what are the conditions they have as clients when they
Yeah.
get their residency card?
Yeah.
Do they have to stay? Do they have to learn the language? How would they go about?
That's a good question. So so the legislation in Italy is quite, so number one, to address, do they have to stay? There's no stay requirement to keep your actual residence permit valid. So as you said earlier, it's 2 years initially.
Yeah.
You exit your investment, you're
Yeah.
essentially regaining 90% of your investment, the capital that you've laid out. So it's a risk-free investment. After 2 years, you
Absolutely.
exit, renewed for 3. During that 2 plus 3, so 5 years, there's no physical residence requirements to keep your residence valid. Now, if you look at the legislation, and this is again unique to Italy, Portugal leads to permanent residence in Portugal. Greece, you're getting Greece permanent residence. Malta, you're getting Malta PR. After 5 years of residence, legal residence in Italy, legal residence is not the same thing as physical residence.
Absolutely.
That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Is that you then qualify for European permanent residence. Now, European permanent residence is much broader than a singular Schengen state
For sure,
permanent residence, because what that allows you to do is it gives you settlement rights across the Schengen bloc. Now, settlement rights means full work rights, full study
Absolutely.
rights, full rights to work or live in that jurisdiction across the 28, or it's still 28 countries in the Schengen area or Schengen zone. So what that gives you is essentially the same settlement rights as a European passport holder,
Right.
with potentially without the risk of the downside of global taxation. So for some, that may make more sense from a risk-averse point of view. So that's quite unique.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sheldon. Italy, among other countries, is the only one that has that option. The golden visa, per se, has that option to move your temporary residency or the golden visa card to EU PR.
Yes.
Is my understanding correct?
So The EU PR is actually a European piece of legislation, but because programs like Greece or Malta, for example, let's use those two, they're essentially giving you PR from the outset.
I see.
So you're getting Malta permanent residence or Greece permanent residence. So that doesn't then, when held up against the legislation, lead to European PR.
Understood.
So the fact that Italy is a temporary residence for 5 years, legal residence, not physical residence, that then allows you to qualify for EU PR after 5 years. So that's quite unique. Another thing that we need to mention, and this is again unique, a lot of the people we do or assist with or help are business owners or entrepreneurs. Now, most European programs require you to make the investment in your personal capacity. So like the bank statement that you mentioned, that would need to be in your personal name.
Right.
Now, some people don't have the liquidity in their personal name. They may have it in a company. If you are linked to that company as a shareholder or director, an executive director, not non-executive, that's also key, you can actually make the €250,000 investment via a company. So that also gives you, and from a taxability standpoint, that could give you a certain, you could probably use that against your tax liability in a potential tax return. So that's also quite unique, the fact that you can make the investment through a company.
Right. I just want to go back to going back to the PR or the EU PR. Would they be required to learn the language?
Yes, that's important.
Yeah.
So
because most of the European programs would require you when you reach to the citizenship.
And so yes, so A2, level A2 Italian language needs to be learned at European permanent residence stage, not at your residence stage. So that's when you qualify for EU PR. So that's also important because we
Sheldon,
don't want...
Sorry to cut you off. Just to give like in layman's term, A2 is basic.
So A2 is essentially listening and speaking.
Okay.
So it's the most basic version of Italian that you could learn. So you're probably going to have to answer,
Buongiorno.
Where's the library? How do I get another cup of coffee? That kind of stuff. So it's not...
You'll be able to communicate, of course.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like with Portugal, we tell our clients there's an exemption against the language test, and you can do 150 hours of Portuguese language lessons or Italian language lessons and be exempt from that. But the reality is, at an A2 level of language, if you're doing 150 hours, you're going to know too much Italian anyway. So that maybe puts it in perspective of how little time you actually need to spend on it. We normally say to our clients, spend some time learning a little bit of Italian 6 months before you intend to qualify for PR, and that would be sufficient.
So basically 2 plus 3, there's 5 years, no requirement of residency whatsoever, then no language requirement as well.
Not in that 5 years.
Nothing. No. But when they reach to the end of the 5th year and they want to qualify for the PR, they would have learned the language prior to that.
The requisite A2 level of language, because that's so that pass certificate, that A2 passing certificate, essentially goes in with your European PR application, and that's how it's then granted.
Which is good. I mean, KB will also help you with the process, obviously, for the residency and then the PR. Everything will be processed accordingly.
If you think about it, so we obviously do a lot of applications, a lot of different applications. We do a lot of Caribbean citizenship by investment, and we do various passport options. So we've even seen clients that hold strong passports, like British passport holders or North American passport, Canadian, Americans, and even some of the clients that we've done things like Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Lucia for, who have access to these jurisdictions. So it gives you, they have visa-free access to Europe. But the key thing is that there's a difference between visa-free and EU PR.
Absolutely.
So what we can do by adding Italian Golden Visa to that portfolio that they already hold is that they could then potentially hold a passport and European permanent residence, would increases their settlement rights from a single country to 29 countries at the end of that 5-year period. So it's certainly not only for people with perceivably weak passports in terms of visa-free access. It really is an application for everyone. Yeah,
and it also would help not only for the parents, but also for the kids. I mean, being able to access all the educational systems in Europe, that would be an amazing addition, because the Caribbean would just allow you to enter and see and do your research.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You'll be able to actually...
We've literally had a case study recently with Italian GV. It was a client who holds a British citizen, and he's got a young family, and those children obviously in the Brexit environment don't have settlement rights in the EU anymore. By the time these two particular daughters are 15 and 11, they will have European settlement rights through the Italian Golden Visa. So it fixes that problem for them.
Yeah.
So
And based on my understanding of the program, there are no nationality being restricted.
Great point again. Yeah, so no nationality restrictions with the Italian GV, and they're quite open about that in terms of their position on certain nationalities being restricted. So no, certain nationalities have to provide some additional documentation, but there's no restriction on nationality, no,
so
which is unique as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no requirement of before making the necessary investment of opening an account in Italy, which is somehow a bit of a I would say a hassle for some nationalities, and also
it can be. I mean,
with the process at the same time.
Exactly, because your funding is essentially going into your investment, not your funding, is going into an escrow account attached to the specific startup. You don't have to facilitate that through an Italian bank account. We can help clients facilitate that process. Yes, it has to come through your personal company capacity, but it's a lot easier going into an escrow account that facilitates an Italian Golden Visa. But in terms of banking, it's a lot easier once your Golden Visa's then granted,
to open,
and then Europe becomes more accessible.
Right,
So
right. If I ask you this question, Sheldon, if you are a client, right? If you were given on your in front of you Portugal Golden Visa, for the sake of comparison, Portugal Golden Visa and Italian Golden Visa, what would you choose?
I mean, I think I'm a little bit biased.
Yeah, me too. I know your answer. I think we have the same.
I'll try and be subtle. I think Italy's a better option for a couple of reasons. The processing times are, I mean, we're seeing it turned around in terms of initial investor visa right through to your initial residence permits being granted in under 5 months, which is a lot less than even Malta, who's brought down the timeline. So held up against Portugal, that's vastly better. I mean, significantly better than that in terms of the 2-year, 18-month process that we're seeing. I think it's less capital. It's 250 and an exit time of 2 years, as opposed to 500 after 5 years, sometimes 6, depending on the fund you use in Portugal. The fact that you can invest through a company is quite unique. The fact that it's a route to European PR after 5 years with no physical residence requirements is unique. Portugal is only beneficial if you are really wanting a non-physical residence journey to citizenship.
Correct, yeah, I agree.
But having said that, that legislation is also on the fence at the moment, as we know. There's talk of, and it's actually, it's being legislated as we speak and discussed. The first hearing's been executed in Portugal. It hasn't passed, but it's currently going to go, there's going to be a sitting on it as well.
I think that would be in September.
I believe so. And that may see a 10-year route to Portuguese citizenship rather than the current 5. So
they'll have to change the counting of the 5 years or 10 years. Instead of from the date of submission online, it's now from the date of actually physically receiving the card. I mean, the card being issued.
Exactly. And there's some stuff around when you can add a dependent, possibly
That's
changing.
the family reunification process,
The reunification after 2 or 3 years?
2 years,
Is it 2 years? Yeah. So Portugal are doing their best to make it a little bit difficult.
I mean, don't get us wrong. I mean, Portugal's Golden Visa is still a beautiful program.
It's a brilliant program,
Yes.
And so is the HSV.
Yes.
Through the incubator and the attached university. So Portugal's still in play, but my advice, to
answer my question.
The short answer is Italy is what I would do. I also think that the global kind of outlook in the West, being what it is at the moment, do you want to rush and get a European passport? It depends. It depends on what your situation is. So we're definitely not a firm that says one size fits all.
Of course.
But as I sit here right now, I think the Italian Golden Visa is brilliant.
Yeah, so that's why it's very important that instead of just, being able to talk to us on the phone, come visit our office.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
We'll meet you. We have experienced advisors who's going to let you know about which option, whether it's Portugal, Italian, Greece, whatever option that is applicable for your
Yeah,
situation.
what I don't want to. Yeah, exactly. We shouldn't come across as saying, "Look, Italy or nothing."
Yeah, of course.
Because there's a lot of fantastic
Absolutely.
options, and like I said, nothing. It's not a one size fits all by any means, but Italy is very, very good.
Yeah.
I think it's a great option.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very excited that we're actually
Yeah.
having a lot of applicants now getting their investor visa, and I think we just had
Yeah.
one that received it recently. So
Exactly.
it is an amazing program.
Yeah.
It could be a good option for a lot of people.
Very good times in Italy indeed, and I'm sure we'll continue to see an uptick in it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for tuning in to the Knightsbridge Group podcast. For more information about immigration updates and the services we offer, please do visit our channel. Please also like, subscribe, and click the notification bell below.